to acknowledge the land we are meeting on today is the traditional territory of many First Nations, including the Chippewas of Georgina Island and the Mississauga of the Credit. These lands are now home to many diverse Indigenous people. We also acknowledge that York Region falls under Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Williams Treaties with several Mississauga and Chippewas First Nations. Well, today it's a special day. It's always a special day when we welcome a new member, and it is my pleasure to welcome Steve Reynold of to the York Regional Police Services Board. He was appointed to the York Regional Police Services Board by Lieutenant Governor of Ontario, commencing July 8th, 2021, for a 3-year term. Steve is a chartered accountant, chartered business valuator, and designated specialist in investigation and forensic accounting. He holds a number of honors and became a partner at Marmer Partner Inc. in 1996 and a managing partner in 2008. His practice consists of a wide range of litigation support, including income tax matters and business and securities valuation. And he has written extensively in many publications and was a tax columnist for Toronto Daily newspaper from 1990 to 2005. Spoken, chaired, and lectured at many professional seminars, including the Canadian Institute of Chartered Business Valuators, the Law Society of Ontario, the Canadian Bar Association, and numerous others. Your credentials, of course, Steve, and expertise will certainly support the work of this board, and we really welcome you, and we look forward to working with you on important governance and community safety issues. Welcome, and now, Steve, we're going to I'm going to defer to Dan Kuzmic, Regional Solicitor, for the administration of the oaths.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, Mayor Bevilacqua.
Dan, we can't hear you.
Oh, you're going to fix that? Thank you so much.
How about now?
We can hear you loud and clear now. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. I apologize. I'm having some intermittent issues with my audio, and today it seems to have chosen to act up. In any event, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Reynold, it is my very great honor to administer your oath as a Police Services Board member, followed by which we will administer the oath of secrecy. I will read the oath, and I would ask that you kindly repeat after me. And once we have completed that, we absolutely, I mirror the mayor's comments and welcome you and thank you for your service to this board. So if you could repeat after me. I, Steve Reynold.
I, Steve Reynold.
Solemnly affirm that I will be loyal to Her Majesty the Queen.
Solemnly affirm that I will be loyal to Her Majesty the Queen.
And that I will uphold the Constitution of Canada.
And I will uphold the Constitution of Canada.
And that I will, to the best of my ability.
And that I will, to the best of my ability.
Discharge my duties as a member.
Discharge my duties as a member.
Of the Regional Municipality of York Police Services Board.
Of the Regional Municipality of York Police Services Board.
Faithfully, impartially, and according to the Police Services Act.
Faithfully, impartially, and according to the Police Services Act.
And any other act, regulation, rule, or bylaw.
And any other act, regulation, rule, or bylaw.
Thank you. Now we will administer the oath of secrecy. And again, I would ask that you repeat after me. I, Steve Reynold.
I, Steve Reynold.
Solemnly affirm that I will not disclose any information.
Solemnly affirm that I will not disclose any information.
Obtained by me in the course of my duties
obtained by me in the course of my duties
as a member of the Regional Municipality of York Police Services Board,
as a member of the Regional Municipality of York Police Services Board,
except as may be authorized or required by law.
except as may be authorized or required by law.
Thank you. And once again, welcome to the board and thank you for your service. Mayor Bevilacqua, the meeting is back to you.
Thank you so much. Excuse me. We're going to, of course, hear from Steve Mr. Reynold. Welcome. The
Thank
floor
you,
is
sir.
yours.
I just want to thank everyone for the opportunity to work with you. I look forward to it. I look forward to learning quite a bit. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much as well. Disclosure of interest. Any disclosure of interest? Okay, please note there's no disclosure of interest. Confirmation of public minutes of June 16th, 2021. Chair, would you like to move that? And okay, and Mayor Pellegrini, second it. All those in favor? Against, motion carries. Now another milestone here, where today's a day of welcoming a new member, but also recognizing the 50th anniversary of the York Regional Police. And congratulations to Chief McSween and York Regional Police for this incredible milestone. As a board, we recognize the great public service provided by York Region Police over the last 50 years. The region has changed since 1971, and YRP has changed and grown as well, not only in size, but in skills and expertise, as well as diversity in the composition to continue to serve and respond to the needs of our residents. The service has changed from a small rural police force to a complex organization servicing both rural, suburban, and large, dense urban centers and populations. YRP has always been an adaptable and forward-thinking organization, and those qualities have allowed you to plan and prepare for the changes that will come. We thank our current complement of officers and civilians and those who have served before you for their commitment to our many communities. Thank you, Chief, and thank you for the coin and pin commemorating this special occasion. And I'm going to take this opportunity here. I don't know if you can see it. You've all received one, I believe. And there we go. This is the way it looks for those of you. I don't know if you can see it. And days like this are a constant reminder that it takes a lot of effort, takes vision, it takes commitment, dedication to build an organization with the great qualities that this organization has. And I think that as a resident of York Region since 1986, I can tell you that I've personally experienced the character, the integrity of this organization. It's an organization that is avant-garde, an organization that understands the changing role of policing in our community and indeed our country. We have, I believe, Chief, a global outlook. We obviously think we address local concerns, but one of the things that I've noticed about this organization is that the view and the horizon that we look at is far and wide. Not only have we made an impact nationally, but many of the innovations that exist within this organization have been applied also globally. I know that when you participate and when your team participates in international events, we can talk about with a great deal of pride about our achievements. And this all comes back to one essential core, and that is that we have a clear vision of where we want to go. People in this organization are committed, they're dedicated, they're devoted to the task at hand. And as you can tell, the citizens of York Region have embraced this organization. And the reason why that happens is because they see in this organization that the organization is indeed one that truly cares about people. And ultimately, the litmus test of any organization like ours is whether or not the people feel that they're being well served, that we are providing services that are important to them, to their families, to their neighbors, to the community. And I think in all those areas, we have been able to excel thanks to the great team that we have. So on behalf of the board, I would like to express my warmest and sincerest congratulations on this 50th anniversary. It is something that we are extremely proud of, and we look forward to the next 50 years and to bring about positive change to people's lives. Chief, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm glad you all received a small token of our appreciation. And I know you've so eloquently put it, Chair, about a lot of accomplishments over the past 50 years and hopefully many more to come. But it's important for us to all recognize as well, us being our executive command team and our organization, that a lot of the achievements that occur within this organization are in no small part due to the leadership at the board level as well. And we have a supportive board and we work very well together. So I just want to say, and I'll keep it brief, on behalf of myself, Deputy Chiefs Brian Bigra, Robertson Rouse, Cecile Hammond, and Paula De Silva, we really truly do appreciate the support of our board and the great working relationship we have. And we look forward to many more years to come under your leadership and guidance and governance. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chief. We'll now move to deputations. Mafalda, we have Jacqueline, Mr. Robert Valley and Marnie Hill in?
Yes, they are.
Okay, wonderful. So I need a motion to grant deputy status to both Robert Valley and Marnie Hill. And Pellegrini, would you like to move that? Seconded by, thank you so much. Seconded by Chairman Emerson. All those in favor? Against? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, do you want a motion to receive the chief's memo for the anniversary also?
Yes, that would be a good idea. Thank you for that.
And with thanks to the for the pin and the I think the dollar. Is it a dollar, Chief? Thank you. But I'll move that, sir. Thanks.
Okay.
I'm wearing my pin. I'm wearing my pin today, so proudly. So thanks.
Mr. Purchell, you're going to second that. Thank you. All those in favor? Against? Motion carries. Now we're back to the deputation. Robert Valley, Mr. Valley and Ms. Hill, as you know, you have 5 minutes each to speak for a total of 10 minutes. Welcome, and the board is looking forward to your comments. Thank you so much.
Good morning. I'm here today to share the actions the town of Newmarket recently took to address the illegal operations of body rub parlors in its town, and to ask the board to ensure York Region Police encourages and supports similar actions in other York Region municipalities, specifically Markham, Richmond Hill, Vaughan, and Aurora. Last June, Mayor John Taylor and Newmarket Town Council unanimously passed a motion to prohibit all sexual activity in retail massage establishments within its jurisdiction, while protecting the integrity of legitimate personal wellness establishments, PWEs. They did this because Canada's criminal code says it is a crime to receive financial or other material benefit by owning, managing, or working for a commercial enterprise such as a strip club, massage parlor, or escort agency, knowing that sexual services are purchased there, plain and simple. They also did it because of concerns raised by town residents who do not want to live in a community where its elected officials and the police ignore criminal activities that put their children, especially young women, at risk. Starting January 2022, illicit body rubs at the retail level will disappear from Newmarket. The town will do this by, 1, only issuing operating licenses to owner-operators of legitimate PWEs, holding them responsible for all staff in attendance, and for ensuring all services provided comply with federal, provincial, and municipal regulations. 2, they are requiring attendants to provide proof of certification from an accredited Canadian institution. This enables qualified massage and wellness attendants who work in legitimate businesses to serve their clients with a high level of skill, integrity, and professionalism. 3, they are requiring attendants to also provide proof they are 18 years or older, a citizen of Canada, a landed immigrant, or have a work permit issued by the Government of Canada to work in the occupation of alternate massage services or at similar occupation categories. And finally, 4, the town will work with YRP to confirm a process to help review applicants and create barriers to prevent businesses associated with criminal activities from obtaining a license. Of course, critics will tell you that the criminals will simply move their businesses of selling sexual services underground. Well, as the YRP knows, it's already there in condos, hotels, long-term rentals, etc. You have to wonder why, when a town of some 90,000 residents announced its plan to shut down illicit BRP, it attracted the attention of some 16 sex worker support organizations from across the GTA, Canada, and the United States, including 3 organizations with ties to the same international sex worker organization. The majority of them made multiple deputations protesting against the shutdown of illegal BRPs. Is it because they know that by working through BRPs in York Region, they are safe from being charged? Do they know, as we heard from YRP through its legal counsel, Jason Fraser, that while criminal offenses may be committed within BRP, the YRP considers the businesses themselves legal, hence no action? As a pimp or trafficker, this is music to my ears, especially when I know that if I keep my girls out of hotels, condos, and long-term rentals and within my legal business, I get a pass because YRP does not do BRPs. The selected approach as to which laws to uphold and which ones to let slide, especially when it comes to the sexual exploitation of women, must stop. It's time for you to listen once again to the stories of the many young women exploited and abused through BRPs here in York Region and the GTA. I commend Newmarket's Mayor Taylor and the council for taking action to address the illegal activity that YRP refuses to address. The law is clear, and the town now has a bylaw that is strong enough to enforce it. I close by repeating my ask of the board. Instruct YRP to end their selective choosing of which laws to support, especially when it comes to the sexual exploitation of women. Instead, encourage and support similar actions like those taken by the town of Newmarket. Do I have your support? Thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much. Any questions for the deputy? Okay, I see none. I guess we'll let's now hear from Sir Robert Valley. Welcome. I think you're on mute. There
I'm no longer on mute, Mr. Bennett.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
All right, good morning. Let's talk enforcement, shall we? Law enforcement. Specifically, I have a question. Are Canadian laws that aggressively criminalize the activities of sex buying, pimping, operating escort agencies, strip clubs, and erotic spas, are they being enforced by YRP? Sadly, the answer is a resounding no. Fact is, our research shows that YRP officers are ignoring the criminal activity that is taking place within the 135 plus erotic massage establishments in the region. For proof, I want to thank 2 YRP detectives, Truong and Deering. Firstly, Detective Truong, famous for Project Raphael, with 104 men charged back in 2017. The Auroran newspaper had an article quoting Detective Truong 3 times. Number 1, our police agency is not interested in investigating prostitution unless it involves children under 18 or human trafficking. Really? Number 2, we really did not want to identify any of the men who were not looking to buy prostituted children. You're kidding, right? And number 3, my favorite, YRP has no interest in making arrests for prostitution involving consenting adults. Criminal code, people. Check it out. Next proof came from Jason Deering, detective. At Newmarket's public information webinar back in February, Deering was recorded, yes, recorded as saying that YRP's 2018 massage parlor initiative identified 15 sex trade workers with the average age of 40 and that 0 juveniles were located. Yes, no charges were laid. When he was asked why the numbers were so low, he replied, quote, "The majority of the exploitation that is taking place is outside massage parlors. Not to say that there's no exploitation or criminal activity within them, but the majority of our focus is outside of massage parlors and more in the hotels in that area." Next, we investigated those 40-year-old sex trade workers mentioned by Deering. They are members of Butterfly. Listen carefully. Butterfly is an advocacy and placement agency representing Asian and migrant sex workers. Butterfly's executive director admitted to Newmarket Council that Asian migrant sex workers are actively, repeat, actively working in Newmarket massage parlors. Twice, she made a deputation asking Newmarket Council to allow body rub parlors to continue to operate because, and I quote her, "Many Asian migrants are now providing a lot of alternative massage services to the people in Newmarket. People who provide sexual services have rights. The new policy of no sexual activity would exclude them from continuing the service, and many businesses would be shut down." Now, here's my personal favorite quote from her. "York Regional Police told us that there is no evidence to show that body rub parlors are related to trafficking." Who told her that? Who told her that? Fact is, Asian migrant sex workers are not accredited masseuses, but they do specialize in happy endings. Legally, their work permits prohibit them from doing sex work or working in sex work-related industries. I quote Canada's immigration and citizenship regulations. Quote, "Open work permits allow persons to work for any employer in Canada except for employers who offer striptease, erotic dance, escort services, or erotic massages," end of quote. Now let's look at Butterfly's international connection. You're gonna love this one. Butterfly Group is one of 313 member organizations of the Global Network of Sex Work Projects. This network lobbies for the full decriminalization of the entire sex trade, and I quote from their website, "The entire sex trade includes sex workers, clients, families, and third parties such as personal managers, brothel keepers, receptionists, maids, landlords, hotels who rent rooms to sex workers, and anyone else who is seen as facilitating, organizing, and profiting from sex work." But here's the kicker. They are funding Butterfly and other organizations, 24 of them, in a legal challenge in Ontario Superior Court of Justice that has the goal, wait for it, of scrapping every prostitution-related section of Canada's criminal code, including my favorite, street walking. Welcome back. I know this because my 3 groups of activists retain counsel to secure our role as interveners, friends of the court in this legal challenge, as it will make its way to the Supreme Court. 2 more seconds. In closing, we ask that you instruct YRP's leadership team to cancel the Go Free Pass that they have given to the body rub erotic massage criminals and enforce the law effective immediately. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Valle. Any questions for the deputy? Questions or comments? I see.
They never have.
Okay. Thank you so much. And as you know, this is going to be moved by, who will be moving that? Ms. Vang, would you like to move that? Okay, Mr. Purch will second it. That we receive the deputation. All those in favor? Against? Motion carries. Thank you so much for your deputation. We now move to communications. Order at 7.1. May I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move 7.1 and congratulate Mr. Reynold for joining on behalf of Regional Council for helping us with York Regional Police Services Board. So I'll move that, sir.
Thank you. It'll be seconded by Mrs. McCullough. Thank you. All those in favor? Against? Motion carries. Now the 7.2, if you've all read the memorandum that we put together, this is about something that I spoke about the very first day when I became chair of the board. It's an issue that we all, I know, collectively care about, and it's really about education and as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion. As you know, one of our goals should be to really deepen our knowledge in these areas. These areas are very important to understand, to comprehend, and to also really take some time to really learn about it. And after some research, we decided that the best program that was available for us was Diversity and Inclusion Certificate from Cornell University. As you know, it's an Ivy League university. The subject matters involving engagement, counteracting unconscious bias, and diversity and inclusion at work, and fostering an inclusive climate is very much in keeping what we're trying to achieve here at the Regional Municipality of York Police Services Board. And I encourage everyone to take this course because I do believe that it's an area that we need to show leadership in, and we also need to equip ourselves to have the background to make decisions that speak to this issue in a very clear and concise and precise way. And so, if I could have Mafal, I don't know if you want to speak about this for a bit, since we spoke to Cornell University about this. Would you like to join in the conversation?
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chair. As Chair Bevilacqua indicated, this particular program provides, or upon completion of this program, you will receive an executive certificate, which I guess is sort of as the mayor indicated, sort of is a first. I mean, I feel comfortable saying we'd be one of the first boards really to receive certificates on this particular issue, and I think to show the support and that the board is truly committed to diversity and inclusion. I think the program is explained in the memo, and I'd be happy to answer any questions with respect to duration and any sort of commitments involved at this time. I just want to add one more thing. You can start it over the course of the next few months. You don't have to start it next week. I think we'll have until the end of next year. Mayor Bevilacqua, are you?
That's correct.
Process?
I think within 1 year, we should all be receiving the certificate. That would be sort of the ideal. I mean, the sooner we get it done, obviously, the better.
Sure.
I mean, it's when you read the memo very carefully, you know that it's doable. And I also think that at the end of the day, it's in a very personal way. It's a commitment that I think we made to really deepen our knowledge in this area. This is an area that's it's going to require, as probably the chief will also tell you, this is an area that's very important, and an area that requires really digging deep a little bit more than we have in the past, and understanding the dynamics of it, and understanding the importance of it. So, who would like to move the motion?
Can I?
Berkshire?
So I had hoped to ask a question. Am I permitted?
Oh,
to do
absolutely.
so?
Yes. Go ahead.
Is this to improve the inclusion and diversity of the board, of the executive command team, of the police force? I was uncertain about that.
It's the board members. I do think this day and age, this is something that board members, not just in our organization or anything, but anybody that belongs to a board or any type of board, should really be educated in this issue, because it's a very important issue. It's a personal decision, but I will say that the ultimate goal is to have everybody certified. And in reference to, and I'll let the chief obviously speak about this, in reference to the actual work of the actual team with the chief, I mean, there's a lot of work being done in this area, and maybe the chief can talk about it. I think we both recognize the importance of of greater understanding. A lot of the challenges today that we face in today's society related to diversity, inclusion, and equity are also rooted in lack of knowledge, right? And lack of awareness. And so anything that we can do as individuals to reduce that lack of knowledge and lack of awareness, we should. And any modern board, I can tell you, that does not dedicate time and energy in this area will be left behind, because this is an issue of national and international importance. And so we need to dedicate ourselves, we need to dedicate some of our time to getting this particular issue right, because we can get a lot of issues right at a police services board, but if we get this one wrong, and it's the same thing with our team, the police force, we're simply, in today's day and age, you can't deliver services and with a lack of understanding of these issues. That's how important these issues are. And I think that, you know, dedicating some time to it shows, first of all, we benefit from it because we will have a greater awareness of the issues and the challenges therein. I think to me, it's of paramount importance. Chief, you want to add a few words to that, please?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chair. I can just echo your comments and how important it is. It is a top priority for our organization, obviously. And what I can share is that we have an inclusive policing action plan currently underway here at YRP, and we're already in development for a further action plan. We've also done a census and inclusion survey in the past, and we're in the middle of starting and doing another survey to sort of help inform that next plan. We've got a number of working groups within the organization working on very important issues like anti-Black racism and an overarching, under the overarching umbrella of anti-racism. Our diversity, equity, and inclusion specialist, Alicia Lozon, actually sits at the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police committee as one of the experts in this field. So we're well served here at YRP, and we are going to do a ton of work in this area. And the last thing I'll say on this piece is we are going to start building a professionalism, leadership, and inclusion office starting mid-October. That office will report directly to me. It may not end up there. Once it's built, it'll take some time, and there will be consultants and engagement of many, many facets of our partners and people that we know in the community, as well as consultants that we've started to reach out to help us to guide the organization on what that should look like in the future. So those are just my comments, Chair. Thanks for the opportunity. And Mr. Reynold, welcome to the board. I was going to say it when I got to my reports, but we had an opportunity to at least highlight some of the work and do some introductions on a day there not too long ago. So welcome. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you again.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Reynold, thank you so much for the question. And as you can tell, with the Chief, it's very important to develop common language when talking about this particular issue. And the fact that they are doing a lot of work on this issue already, I think if the board increases its knowledge about the issue, then, you know, we'll have a greater understanding even when we're communicating about these particular issues, which are extremely important. Now, I thought I saw Ms. Fang and Chairman Emerson's hand go up. Is that correct? Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Fang.
Thank you, Maurizio. I just want to say that I wholeheartedly agree with you and support this initiative for the board, as we all know that the whole world of governance is evolving around ESG these days, environment, social, and governance. And DEI is very important element of social and governance. So I applaud your vision and leadership in leading our board to go through this process. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Fang. Chair Emerson?
Thank you, Mayor Babalacqua. Yes, I agree that should go through this course. I guess I haven't been in school for a long time and taken courses, so I need some. Like, it doesn't say how we get into this course on the memo. It tells us what the courses are about. It says the cost of the course, which is fine, but are we going to get something else to explain where we go? And then when we do sign up, it's being paid by York Region Police Services Board. So I just want to make sure that we are sent something in the next week or so on the agenda that we have to go through to get into this course. Now, maybe I missed it, but I only saw your letter and I saw the training memo, but I didn't see anything else on how we get into this course.
Okay, you just have to enroll, but what we'll do is Mafalda and the team will be facilitating that. We could probably send some more information even today, this afternoon, but as long as we have sort of the board's obviously permission to move forward, more information will be forthcoming. But it's basically an online course, and you do it. The beauty of it is that as much, we all have sort of different schedules, and you can access the course at any time during the day, and it's a commitment of probably 5 hours a week, which I think is, it's for people like us who have a lot of things going on. I think it's doable. I really believe it, and I project forward, Chairman Emerson, and imagine when the entire board is receive this certificate. I think it's going to be a great day for our board, and I think that we're also going to benefit from the knowledge. But I guess more information, Mafalda. The chair would like more information as to how one enrolls and what have you. But I think you're going to be quarterbacking that because we got a package with Cornell University. Go ahead, Mafalda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To your question, Chairman Emerson, we will assist you and support you in that process. We'll set you up, we'll register everyone, and then you'll, if we want to meet quickly before it begins, we can just have a quick session. But it is very straightforward. It is online. They're pre-recorded videos, is my understanding, and it's with some of the top lecturers on the subject matter in the US and Canada. And there is a component that's going to require you to do some be interactive on a discussion board. So you'll have colleagues in your group, probably from all over the world, and to discuss the matter, sort of how they impact you on a day-to-day, and on a day-to-day at work, and so you can weigh in on how impacts your role as a regional chair and as a member of the board. So there's quite a bit of interaction with the whole thread being monitored by the lecturer, so the professor, so they would weigh in on things. So there's this sort of interaction done online. So you are required to complete a sort of a short project at the end, but you have the time to complete it during the 2 weeks of the course. So it's not like you have to do the whole course over 2 weeks and then you have a research paper. And yes, I haven't been, I finished my master's degree a number of years ago. So it's straightforward. I think they're sort of, their rate of is like 98% or 99% of the students complete the course, and these are professionals, in all different industries. So it's doable, and at the end of the day, the point of this particular program is that you will be able to apply your knowledge to your work, versus just getting some theoretical training on it and not being able to apply it to your day-to-day. It's supposed to be practicable knowledge. It's supposed to be knowledge that you can actually use on a day-to-day, which is where we're all going with this. I mean, we've heard we've all taken courses in this at some point in our careers and so on, which is obviously important, but we need to put that to action. We need to be able to apply it when we draft policy. We need to be able to apply it in procedures and just in the everyday as the board, directs the service. It needs to understand what unconscious bias means, for example. I mean, so I think as the mayor pointed out, Mayor Bevilacqua, this is an important course. And if I may add one more thing with respect to the costs, and I can speak to it later as well when we do our budget proposal. The cost to put our 7 members through is about $12,000 US. And I will propose that money come from the board's public relations fund as opposed to the operating budget. And the reason is, and I talked to Jeff and a few others, that it does tie into the benefit to the community, because under the Act, the board can use that fund however it chooses to. And that fund is, as you know, it comes from found property, auctions and so forth. It's not tax dollars. So the board gets about $90,000 a year poured into that fund, and you're very familiar with it because we use it to support communities and support different organizations. However, we can use it as well in this case because obviously there is a direct connection to our communities. So I will propose that we use some funds from our public relations budget to pay for this course. And I can go into it again when we do the budget proposal a little later on. Okay, thank you.
All right. Any more questions? Any more comments? Seeing none. Ms. Fang, Ms. McCullough, do you mind moving and seconding the motion? Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Against? Motion carries. Thank you so much. We now move to 7.3. I need a motion to receive the correspondence and also need a seconder. Chair Emerson, Ms. Fang, all those in favor? Against? Motion carries. Now move to items for consideration, reports of the Chief of Police. 8.1 is interim financial reporting for the period ending June 30th, 2021.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Before I get going, I just want to say I hope the board, even on recess, had a great summer holiday. And I wanted to introduce, I believe, his first board meeting, our new executive officer, Superintendent Al Almeida, who you see on the screen here today. You'll be hearing a little bit from Al a little bit later when we talk about the statistical report. Welcome, Al, and you'll be seeing a lot of Al over the next coming months. And in relation to today's report, this is, as mentioned by the chair, that we received the unaudited interim financial report for the first 6-month period ending June 30th. The summary, I will turn over to Jeff Channel and invite him to add comment or to answer any questions. Jeff.
Thanks very much, Chief, and good morning to the board. This report is in front of the board as per quarterly reporting requirements under the financial accountability policy. The report includes a lot of information. I'll give it a very high-level summary. The schedule of operating budget spending shows that YRP is modestly above budget at 51.2% spent. The report speaks to a deficit outlook, and that's a call between $2 and $3 million deficit. And that's based on recent forecasting. We expect the deficit to come in at the lower end of this range, in part due to an approval expected at tomorrow's council to draw from the cannabis reserve for unbudgeted costs of $885,000. And that's unbudgeted costs related to cannabis investigations. So of the remaining balance, about 2/3 of that deficit is attributable to pandemic-related impacts. Those are shown on the schedule of COVID financial impacts. And that schedule is prepared to show the full costs, but my comments will be on the middle section, the incremental costs, which are a $1.46 million weakness in revenues related to our fees and charges. And this is clearance letters, vulnerable sector checks, paid duties, all sorts of revenues being down due to the pandemic. It includes $216,000 in unbudgeted direct spending. This is health-related PPE, as well as training and cleaning costs. And that's offset by mitigating actions. So back in May, the executive command team called for an additional $588,000 in spending reductions to help mitigate the problem in 2021. Moving over to the schedule of capital budget spending, YRP is currently 36.6% spent on its capital. As feedback from a board member, notes have been added to this report that outline key information from the schedule, and it includes council's approval this past June, and that's a reprofiling exercise for $200,000 from the business intelligence project to the air support project, and this was to address unanticipated replacement of monitors and windscreens on the helicopter. Highlights of several capital projects were added to the notes, and it includes, as a preview, rebudgeting expected between 2021 and to 2022 to reflect anticipated spending needs at our new one district, our in-car camera systems, and our specialized equipment, and specifically the forensic lab project. From the schedule of reserve balances, all 4 of the reserves are on track to meet funding and spending expectations in 2021. And with that, that's the overview of the report. I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? No, I don't see any hand up on my screen. Okay, so we'll have I need a motion to receive the report. I have a mover. Chair Emerson, seconded by Ms. Vang. All those in favor? Against? Motion carries. Chief, 8.2.
8.2, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a number of contracts, it's contract extensions beyond 5 years. And the recommendation that the board authorize the extension of the agreements for goods and services within the contractors listed in Table 1. And I believe it's 7 contracts we're looking to have approved here. And assuming the board has reviewed the report, just if there's any questions on this report.
Any questions, comments? Seeing none. Mayor Pellegrini, would you like to move that? Thank you so much for that. Mr. Percher, would you like to second that? Thank you for that. All those in favor? Against? Motion carries. 8.3.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, this is a report that comes before the board on a regular basis, purchasing bylaw quarterly report, and another report to the board to receive the report pursuant to our bylaw, to the board's purchasing bylaw 1017. It contains a summary of purchasing matters that were executed in the second quarter of 2021. And once again, assuming you've reviewed this, if there's any questions, please let me know, and either I or Jeff can answer.
Any questions? No questions. Any comments? No comments. Mr. Reynold, would you like to move that? Thank you. And Ms. McCullough, would you like to second that? Thank you so much. All those in favor? Against? Motion carries. 8.4.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a proposal for the use of $2,500, seeking the board's approval of $2,500 from the Public Relations Reserve Fund. As you will recall, we had a tragic accident. One of our members last year, Detective Constable Megan Crook, was tragically killed in a snowmobile accident. And she had a very significant connection to Big Brothers and Big Sisters in her life. And in honor of that, a hike has been started in honor of Megan and her connection to Big Brothers Big Sisters, who is a charity of choice for YRP, and we've supported along the way. So we are looking to, and the $2,500 will be used for scholarships for young people, $500 scholarships. So $2,500 will provide 5 young people an opportunity. And there's also further fundraising going on throughout the hike, and all of that money will be used to support this endeavor. So, just for the board's information as well, it's a virtual hike that will happen between October 9th and October 12th. And I'll make sure through Al that we send those details off to Mafalda so the board has access should anybody wish to. It's open to anyone. So
Thank you for that. A great cause. Mr. Purchell, would you like to move that? Seconded by Chair Emerson. All those in favor? Against? Motion carries. Thank you. 8.5, Chief.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is our semi-annual report on public complaints, and I'll just turn it directly over to Mr. Fraser to add any comment for the board's information.
Mr. Fraser,
Thank you, Chief. Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, members of the board. You will see from this report that overall, at least in the first 6 months of this year, we do have an increase in the amount of public complaints. Predominantly, that increase is in relation to police procedures. And when you see the statistics, you see it drills down to its allegations of improper detention, improper charge, improper search. It's interactions between the police and members of the public and police engaged in enforcement. And what we're seeing, and it's not just in this police service, but in police services basically across the province, is over the pandemic, we've had essentially a change of rules concerning enforcement of COVID measures on an almost monthly basis. And it inevitably leads to conflict as members of the public simply don't know what the rules are half the time. And in fairness, from time to time, our members are making mistakes with the rules when they're changing that often. What we're also seeing is, and what you're probably seeing in the news and on TV, is a small but growing number of people in the public who are opposed to those rules themselves and opposed to their enforcement. And so that's leading to some additional complaints as well. But when we compare the increase in number of complaints with the resolution of those complaints, we're actually seeing on average in the past, several years, roughly half of the public complaints that we receive are dismissed at the outset by the OIPRD as being frivolous, not in the public interest, or otherwise being no jurisdiction. And the number for the past 6 months is actually more than half. And when you look at the numbers that have been found to be frivolous or withdrawn or unsubstantiated, now we're getting into 80-90% of those complaints being resolved quite early and withdrawn. And what we've seen is so far, at least in the first 6 months, that we've resolved informally 8 of those complaints, and otherwise there's been no discipline arising out of those complaints. So although we're seeing an increase in complaints, we're not seeing a corresponding increase in discipline. So it's leading us to believe that it's not so much an issue that requires a disciplinary response, but it's a rise that we have to be cognizant of. But we're not seeing any sort of trends or issues on the policing side. Unfortunately, we do think that this trend is going to continue on the complaint side until we get out of the pandemic.
Okay.
I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Seeing none. Okay, well, Mayor Pellegrini, you'll move that. Mr. Purchell, will you second that? Thank you so much. All those in favor? Against? Motion carries. 8.6.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the 2020 York Transit Annual Report. The recommendation is that the board receive the report pursuant to Section 52 of the agreement between the Regional Municipality of York Police Services Board and the Regional Municipality of York. And Section 52 of that agreement requires the region to annually report to the board statistical information related to enforcement activities, training, supervision in relation to York Regional Transit. And included here is their annual report as well as an attachment. So subject to any questions, just ask that the board receive this report.
Okay. Question, Chair, or would you like to move it? Like to move it? Okay. Chair Emerson moves it, and Ms. Fang, would you like to second that? Okay. Ms. McCullough, you'll second that. Okay. All those in favor? Against? Motion carries. 8.7.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 8.7 is our 2021 semi-annual statistical report. And welcome to the stage our new Executive Officer, Superintendent Al Almeida, who will provide some comments on this report. Al, over to you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Mr. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the Police Services Board. The crime statistics shown in this report represent only a preliminary year-to-year comparison of 6 months data from January to June of this year. Although semi-annual trends are comparable to the same time period in previous years, they are not necessarily indicative of trends to continue through year end. The crime stats are based on data extracts from our records management system that were pulled on the 16th of August. And the crime rates for this 6-month report are estimated per 100,000 population, except the youth crime rate, which is based on the 1,000 youth population. I'm just going to point out a few statistics. The crime rate overall increased 0.4% this year, and the actual number of criminal and federal violations increased by 1.4%. Crimes against persons, we saw an increase of 7.1% overall. The actual number of crime against persons violations increased 8.1%. We saw decreases in the areas of categories such as assault, but decreases in areas of robbery, and a significant increase in criminal harassment and harassing type offenses that involve communications. In crimes against property, we saw the violations decrease 3.2%, and notably our break and enter rate decreased by 28.8% from last year. Weapons related violations decreased 19% over last year. However, and the actual weapons violations decreased by 18.3%. However, this year we have noticed that the number of seizures by our uniformed members has increased. This time last year, we had seized approximately 8 firearms from our frontline patrol within the region, and this year we're at 22 for the year. So the statistics sometimes don't always tell you the full picture of what's actually going on. And one other area that was significantly increased from last year was rates of dangerous operation of motor vehicles. And I'm happy to report that our youth crime rate decreased by 34.7% over last year. We continue to monitor the crime trends, of course, and crime rates have been gradually increasing as the municipality has grown over the past years. However, the trend has changed temporarily due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And as the as the restrictions ease, we have seen the rates gradually increase to pre-pandemic levels. Subject to any questions, I have Swampin on the call, and I also have Brenda Mulroy available should the board have any questions.
Okay, thank you, Superintendent Almeida. Any questions or comments? Yes, we have Ms. Fang goes a question and or a comment.
Thank you, Mauricio. Thank you, Al. Welcome. I just have one quick question, please. It's our package, page 103, and there are 2 charts showing trend, and to the right is the overall clearance rates, showing that the 5-year 2017 to 2021. And I'm wondering if we should be concerned that the direction of the chart is the clearance rate keeps coming down. So if you can kindly explain what causing this downward trending, and should this be a concern, please?
Certainly. Do you want to take that one? Okay, well, so in the instance of clearance rates, one of the trends that we look at is the volume of investigations that we are certainly having to undertake. And it's our ability to clear those cases is affected by the sheer fact that a lot of the cases are becoming more and more integrated and the word I'm looking for here, complex, thank you. They're more complex, so it requires a lot more investigative effort to put cases through courts, which ultimately affects our ability to manage those cases. So there are times where we have to manage and prioritize which cases we're able to fully focus our efforts on. And from time to time, clearance rates are affected by our ability to properly address and resource those investigations. And just for one moment, Brenda Mulroy can add to that as well.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Yeah, I can just add a little bit to that. Our clearance rates, the overall clearance rates, that of course combines the criminal clearance rates and the property crime clearance rates. And I do believe, in the cases, that the property crime clearance rates certainly are always, very much lower because we don't always have an identified suspect there. They're just not as easily solvable. So as those kinds of crimes, are a greater proportion of our crime rate in instances, that's going to drive our clearance rate down overall as well. So, that is one of the things that as we move into next month's board report, which is the Stats Canada comparator report, which it's based on crime severity as well. It looks at the clearance rates. There's also based on the severity of crime as well. So that will paint an additional picture for the board on our crime rates next year. And as well as we mentioned that, in terms of the records management system, there are sometimes a delay in terms of those clearance rates. We're only halfway through the year. So I would expect those clearance rates to potentially rise through to the end of the year as well as, other cases are cleared. So again, that's why we always put the disclaimer in there that this is just our 6-month position in time. And I'm not sure, Swapan, if you wanted to add anything more about what you're seeing there too.
Yes. In 2018, actually, Canadian Center for Justice Statistics, they changed the definition of unfounded and founded cases. So since then, we are actually noticing that clearance rate has been declining because we are not clearing cases as unfounded like before. So we are thinking twice, and there are 3 more categories in that area: X, Y, and Z. So we are noticing not for only your occasion, in all other jurisdictions, clearance rate has been declining since 2018. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Swapan.
Any further comments?
Great, thank you. Thank you for the further insight. I think as Swapan mentioned in the end, it would be helpful to see some of the comparables so that we know this is not a challenge specific to our region. And if it's across the board, across the province, at least the major police services boards, then we know it's a common challenge. And I know that the board has been very supportive to our forces in terms of training, technology, resources, and there's always not enough resources in any kind of business. And so we also acknowledge that the criminals are getting more and more sophisticated, but hopefully we are ahead of the curve. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm just going to make one comment here. Sorry, Chair. The only thing that when we compare YRP to any other organization, no matter what it is, it's important for us to recognize that we need to make sure that the business rules being applied at both agencies are being applied in the same way as well. So we know we're comparing apples to apples. That hasn't always been the case in the past, and we just need to make sure our comparison is sound. But as Swapan mentioned, everyone is seeing the same trend across the board. So we will be looking at that though, Ms. Fang, as well. It is something that we discussed recently.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Ms. Fang, for the questions. Any other question or comments? If not, we have a motion. Ms. Fang, would you like to move it? Ms. McCall, would you like to second it? The board receive this report for information? All those in favor? Against? Motion carries. We now move to the report of the executive director. 9.1. Follow.
Did Miss McCullough have a question on the last report? She did put her sign up to request to speak. So
was it request to speak? Sorry, I thought she was just seconding, but
I thought both signs go up. I didn't know if she had a question.
Actually, I had a quick question, and I think most of it had been answered. I wanted to know if the clearance rate was related to staff resources.
Ms. McCall, I'll answer this one. I would say,
Okay.
suggest, it's hard to say, yes, it is. I would say in all likelihood, it's not. I think the business rules that changed as per Swapin's suggestion is more what's causing the drop in that number, slight drop, than anything related to the staff piece.
Thank you, Chief. Ms. McCall, any further questions?
That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Chair Emerson, for pointing that out to me. It escaped me. Okay. We're back to, we already took a vote on that. So now we're back to the Executive Director.
Oh, Mr. Purchell has a question now too.
Oh, there we go.
Sorry.
There we go. Go ahead. Mr. Purchell, go ahead.
You're muted, Walter.
You're mute. You're on mute, Mr. Purchell. Yeah, you're on mute. There you go.
I don't know. Will there be an opportunity to ask the chief a very specific question later on about a policy issue? Or is this now the time to do that?
I guess the nature of the question. Chief, are you okay with taking questions now or?
Yeah, I can take any question. Is it a policy question about this report or just in general?
No, it's not about this report. It's an operations matter. So whenever that's convenient to the chair and to yourself, Chief.
I'm in your hands, Chair.
Okay. Well, let's see, just checking here. It's just the nature of the question that I don't know what the question will be. I don't know, is it
Well, very quickly, Chair, it's a matter of, we've recently been advised that TPS, pardon me, has come up with a policy on vaccination and management on COVID on a go-forward basis. And I have a very specific couple of questions and observations.
Okay.
To see where YRP is going on this.
Okay. Ms. Avellino, go ahead.
Thank you. I would suggest if appropriate, then it would just be raised under other business.
Yeah, that's a good, sure, we'll do that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Purchell, with you?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, with you, Chief? Okay.
It's Mr. Chair, is it possible we have that conversation in private? Or would you prefer it in public?
I'm happy to pursue that in private.
Okay, that's up to Mr. Purchell. Okay, that's fine. It's fine by me. It's fine by you. Or okay. That's fine. We'll do it in private.
Mr. Chair, Jan might want to add to that.
Kurzmick, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Bevilacqua. I think that's entirely appropriate. That question will involve legal advice. I can advise that the executive command team is presently engaged with York Region Legal Services to discuss these issues. So to your point, sir, I believe that it's entirely appropriate under Section 35 of the Act.
Thank you for that clarification, and that's the way we'll proceed. Thanks again. Now we're back. Hey, eventually we'll get to this report from the executive director. With all the scheduling and everything, all the great meetings that are ahead of us. That's 9.1. Go ahead, Ms. Avellino.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The report is straightforward. We have 9 meetings scheduled for next year. You'll see it towards the end of the year. We do have the municipal election, and sometimes that can factor into to the scheduling a little bit, just to make sure that we get past that and it doesn't interfere with that process. But if there are any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Okay. Mayor Pellegrini, do you have any questions related to the election? No, I mean election. Related to the schedule. Any concerns with the schedule? Oh, Ms. McCullough, go ahead.
At the bottom of page 1, you indicated that the meetings will be virtual?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
It will be virtual until further notice.
Thank you.
But I will say, please jump in, there seems to be, like I can just express above and beyond my sort of role as the chair, like in our city, for example, we won't be reopened. The earliest will be in January. And then we'll see it from there. But I do think that, sometimes, I mean, there's legislation now that allows also for hybrid. But we'll play it by ear. We'll see how the conditions are and when we could have our next meeting together. That's something that we'll have to decide down the road.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So I need someone to move. Okay. So we have Ms. Fang and Chair.
Mr. Chairman, on the one on November the 9th, it may have to be fluctuated. I believe we're getting a report to go to York Region Council, and I believe the term of council is up November 15th. It's not December like it was before. It's moved up. The province has moved it up since the election of the municipal is sooner. So we could affect that meeting. And then the other one, I question the September 19th. I'm not sure who comes off or stays on the board after the municipal election. I'm not sure whose time is up on the board. So I'm questioning whether we need that September 19th workshop so close to the election and maybe so close to people, because I'm not sure about Ms. McCullough goes with the term of council. I'm not sure if Ms. Fang's term is up at the end of this term for council. So there could be some new players come in the new year. So you may want to workshop in the new year, not so much close to September. But I think that can be adjusted anytime. So I'll still second the motion that we move on with the calendar, but it may have to fluctuate some couple of those dates.
Yeah, and that's right. And there's always flexibility, right? Conversations can take place throughout the term and throughout the year. And if changes need to be made, we'll just make them. Thank you for that, Chair. All those in favor? Against? Motion carries. Public Relations Fund 9.2.
Sorry, thank you, Mr. Chair. You have before you the semi-annual report on the Public Relations Fund. The balance at the end of June 30th, 2021 was $182,179. And we had about just over $45,000 in revenue for the first 6 months. As many of you are aware, the Police Services Act gives police services boards in Ontario the authority to use the proceeds from the sale of unclaimed personal property and money found in auctions and seized by the police service for any purpose that it considers in the public's interest. The policy, the board has a public relations fund policy, and it governs how the board spends these funds, and the executive director monitors the expenditures and then reports to the board semi-annually.
Thanks for that. I would like to move the recommendation. Mayor Pellegrini, seconded by Mr. Purchell. All those in favor? Against? Motion carries. Thank you so much. 9.3.
This is the request for the 2022 Police Board budget. You have before you the 2022 board budget request in the amount of $514,300, which is a proposed increase of just over $14,500 or 2.9% from last year, from 2021. I can provide some details on some of the accounts. The increase to the salaries includes economic increases, which have not been determined yet for 2020. As the board is aware, the board salaries are based on economic adjusted provided to the York Region non-union personnel and not the increases provided to the YRPA. The salaries include 2 board staff, 4 members of the board, who each receive an honorarium of about $10,000 per year during their time on the board. We have the consultants account, and the funds in this account will include resources to support the board's anti-racism and the community trust committee. It will also be used to support the salary market reviews as required in 2022. And also some of those funds will support the board in getting resources to assist on the new legislation, which my understanding it will take effect in the first quarter of next year. I'm also, as I mentioned earlier, proposing an allocation of $17,000 from the board's public relations fund to support the training certificate that the board approved earlier this morning. And this proposal is aligned with the board policy on the public relations fund. Perhaps we need to amend it a little bit, but it is also consistent with the provisions of the Police Services Act to support this particular initiative. Finally, there are some decreases in some of the accounts to offset some of the increase in costs. And those decreases are basically based on an average over the last 3 or 4 years that we feel comfortable decreasing some of the amounts in some of those accounts. This budget proposal will continue to support the important governance and oversight role of this board and prepare for any pressures related to the new legislation next year and additional resources to support the board's duties and functions. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Okay, any questions? Chair Emerson, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Bevilacqua. So the recovery from reserves, it was 50,000. Now you got 67, which is 17,000. Is that what you're saying for the 17,000 would do to cover the cost of the course for the board? Am I understanding that right?
That's right.
So then it would stay the 50. It would stay at 50,000 if we take the 17,000 from another account, right?
Exactly.
Okay. And I'm okay with that. The salaries and honorarium, 6% increase in salaries. Like, well, I'm not sure we're going up 6% in salaries.
That will include the retroactive amounts from any negotiations that haven't been done yet with respect to 2020 amounts, so that make sure that we can cover anything that comes through on that end. We're just a couple of years behind with those economic increases.
But we would have put something in the 2021 budget to cover those costs, and even 2020. So why are we jumping to 6% in 1 year?
That's a good question. I mean, I think that perhaps may be a bit higher than really required. There is a component as well to staff that pertains to the merit, but certainly not in that ballpark. So we can amend that particular account. But I was anticipating any retroactive in there and anything else that may.
Yeah, I agree, but it just that we would have kept money. I would assume we would have put money in that. And then you've increased the external counsel consulting service $4,000. What did we spend in 2000? What have we spent so far in 2021?
We're near the end. Well, we're covering the hiring of a consultant to assist the anti-racism committee, and we've budgeted about $20,000 for that, and some of that will come into next year's budget as well, because their role will continue on in the first quarter of next year. And we anticipate also a market review further to some of the contracts the board is party to, and any other resources that we suspect will be required to assist the board in the first year of the new legislation, the new Police Services Act. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. You've increased it $4,000. So I'm asking you, if you're going to go that much more, like you're going to pay. I'm not sure that consulting fee for 20,000. I'm not sure where that is. Where that is and what it is. What you're asking the board, or maybe it's already gone through and I missed it. So I apologize for that. It's only $20,000 for a consultant for what?
Well, as I indicated, related to the anti-racism committee. So we've hired someone that will assist that board committee so part of their role it's sort of part of that cost will be incurred in 2021. The rest will be in 2022, and that's about a $20,000 in fees. The rest will be related to the market review that the board will be undertaking next year, as well for their some of the contracts that they're party to. And I anticipate that we will have to hire some resources to assist the board under the new legislation beginning next year, whether that's a review of the adequacy standards or policies that will or any regulations that will come out of that. Again, that can be pushed to 2023, and I'm comfortable doing that as well. With respect to the one of the budget for this year, just going back to your question around salary this year, there was I think we've pretty much exhausted the salary budget this year because there was quite a bit of retroactive in there, just some pays that weren't paid out. So we've exhausted that budget. That's why we had to increase it by 6,000. So even though we did factor in, as you said, Chairman, the negotiations that we anticipated perhaps could happen in 2020 or 2021 and didn't, we used up that amount because it was retroactive there on some of the reviews, some of the evaluations. And I can provide you with more detail in the private session, just because it touches on personnel. But just to say that, yeah, we've reached the top end of that salary budget, or we will be very close to the top end. Therefore, the 6,000 and the 6,000 covers the honorarium as well. The honorarium does increase as well. It does. The economic increases do impact the honorarium as well. But perhaps we should review that number there, 6%, and we can maybe scale it back a bit.
Okay, so I'm still hung up on, not hung up on it, but you get $20,000 for a consultant for race relations, but what's the course that the board is taking? Has everything included, I assume, with race and indigenous? I thought it was all included there. So why are we having a consultant for a committee, and I'm not sure who's on this committee?
Thank you for that. The course that was discussed earlier, that's a separate initiative. That's the training for the board members, and that's going to be about $17,000 that we will use from. We certainly have the funds in the public relations funds, so we can take it out of there. The consultant, and we have Ms. McCullough and also Mr. Purchell on that committee. If you recall, in June, I think it was May or June, the board struck a committee, the Anti-Racism and Building Community Trust Committee, to respond to the recommendations that both the chief and the board received from our Black community members last year. So part of that report also included the hiring of a subject matter expert, an SME. So right now we're in the process of putting an RFP out for that individual to assist us with these recommendations. And we'll have a report actually come in October. And we have a couple of committee members. I don't know if they want to speak to that, but we can get into, we will have a report for you in October. But that cost is associated specifically to this committee. It is a separate, now I say that, but there's nothing stopping the board from using funds from its public relations fund to pay for that as well, or because again, it does affect the community directly. So we certainly can look at cutting that particular account, the consultant's account, and reducing it by about, I guess about 10,000, and taking it from public relations. We can certainly do that.
So if I may ask, Ms. McCullough, Mr. Purchell, did the consultant was discussed at your meeting, and the consultant was what you needed to come forward? I thought there was enough expertise on this committee, but can you explain to me, was that discussed for a consultant to come in and do the work?
Ms.
Okay,
Burchell, go ahead.
go. Okay.
The committee that was struck that I was seconded to felt that it would be useful to have a consultant with a broad range of responsibilities to support the activities in the report that would ultimately be generated first to this board and then subsequently to the chief and the executive command team. The number of prospective applicants for that board has been narrowed to a group of well-known experts in field, subject matter experts recognized by members of communities that are certainly focused on this issue. That group has not been willowed down because, as the executive director has indicated, we are at the RFP stage. The RFP stage is to proceed through this group of nominated individuals down to a single expert who will assist the committee, write a report, make recommendations, and do an oral presentation to this board in order to improve our ability to respond to the issues raised by the officers who made their deputations to this board. I don't know if Ms. McCullough has anything to add to that, and certainly I can. This committee incidentally sits every 2 weeks. It's busy. It has an aggressive agenda, and that agenda is hastened along by time and the need to respond in a timely manner to the issues that have been raised by this board and the concerns that have been raised, particularly in the anti-Black racism issues. With that, I can defer to my colleague, Ms. McCullough.
Okay, I think you have covered most of the points, Mr. Purchell. We will, as Mr. Purchell said, and provide a report at the end of this consultation. And I think that's all I can say right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have no more questions.
Okay. We have a mover and a seconder for the recommendation. Moved by Ms. Fang and seconded by Ms. McCullough. Thank you so much. All those in favor? Against? Motion carries. That was 9.3. Now we improved to 9.4. And it's Public Relations Reserve Fund, and we're looking at an expenditure of $5,000 from the the board's Public Relation Fund in support of the Canadian Association of Police Governance. Any questions, any concerns, any comments on this? Okay, Ms. Fang, you have a question? Oh, you'd like to move it? Okay, moved by Ms. Fang, seconded by Mayor Pellegrini. All those in favor? Against? Motion carries. Thank you so much, everybody. Any unfinished business, other business? Other business. Before we move into the private meeting, I just wanted everyone to know that I had occasion with a very special participant, a very special ceremony just recently. It involved the chief, who received a 30-year bar exemplary service award. Made the presentation on behalf of the Governor General, and it was a great event to sort of remember all the great things that the chief has done and will continue to do. 30 years, it's actually 32 because he got 1989, he started with YRP. But I'm going to take a little bit of time here, just a few minutes, because it's very important for us to remind ourselves of the great work that Chief McSween has been involved in. He began his career with YRP in 1989. He previously served in number 2 District Criminal Investigation Bureau, the Hold-Up Unit, and the Community Services Bureau. He was promoted to the rank of inspector in 2013 and was assigned to the Duty Inspector Bureau. He also served as an inspector in the Training and Education Bureau. In 2016, he was promoted to the rank of superintendent and has since served as the officer in charge of number 2 and number 4 district, respectively. He served as Superintendent Operational Command, which includes the 911 Communication Center and the Real-Time Operations Center. He became a Deputy Chief of Police in 2019, and now you all know why in 2020 he became the chief. So thank you so much for your dedication and commitment. You know, I often say that public service is a calling, it's not a job. And you do it with anyone involved in public service that does it right. It's really a labor of love. And I think that I speak on behalf of the board when I say, Chief, that throughout the years that we've known each other and the board is known of you, you've certainly exemplified the very best of what the policing culture is all about. That. And for that, we'd like to express, on behalf of the board, I'd like to express my warmest and sincerest gratitude and also congratulations.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks to members of the board. And I just want to thank the deputies as well. I mean, you can never do these jobs without a great team around you. And these are all outstanding people who you have as an executive command team. So as much as, you know, I appreciate the accolades for 30 years, and many on the screen here have hit that milestone as well. You can't do it alone, and it's really important to recognize that. We did joke the other day, and I won't belabor this one, that, you know, I'm getting my 30-year bar at 32 years, so I guess they just needed an extra couple of years from me just to make sure. But anyways, I do appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, I just want you to know, Chief, it was a special edition. Thank you so much. Thanks for all that you do. Now I need a motion to convene in private meeting for the purpose of considering confidential items pertaining to legal and personal matters in accordance with Section 35(4) of the Police Services Act. Mr. Purcher, would you like to move that? Seconded by Ms. Fang. All those in favor? Any against? Motion carries. Thank you so much, everyone.